We are recording Nishmas Yitzchok Dov Ben Nisan Eliezer. We're on Daf Vav Amud Aleph, and the last thing we learned was about the different names of Reket, Tveria, and so on and so forth. And Zvulun, we learned at the end of the Shiur last week that Zvulun was a little bit complaining about his portion in Eretz Yisrael. They quoted the pasuk in Shoftim where it says, Zvulun am cheref nafsho lomus. Why was Zvulun so upset? So the Gemorah says a few lines right by where it says Shoftim, Sham, hey, that's what I'm just picking up the Lashon there in the Gemorah. Matam, Mishum the Naftali al Merome Soda. Because Naphtali was his Zvulun's brother. Naphtali was on the high places of the land. This we learned at the end of last week's year. Zvulun said before Hashem, to my brothers, you gave them fields and vineyards. But me, you gave me mountains and peaks. Right? Okay. To my brother, to my brothers, you gave fields. But Zvulun, which was on the border, so on the western border by the Mediterranean, he says to me, you gave me Yamim Unaharos, which means seas and rivers. So Hashem wanted to appease Zvulun, so he says to him, Omar lo, Hashem said back to Zvulun, Kulan Svichen L'cha Yedechi Lozon. All the people of Eretz Yisrael, all the nations, all the tribes are going to need you because of the Chilazon. You brought this to me?
Amen.
They're all going to need you because of the Chilazon, because the Chilazon was needed for the dye for the tzitzis. Everybody is going to wear tzitzis, so they're going to need it for the dye of the tzitzis. Shenemar, and he quotes the pasuk in Devarim. The techelas, for the techelas. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk. He quotes here the pasuk in Bezos HaBrocha when it talks about the chelek of Zvulun. When Moshe Rabbeinu was giving the brachas to all the tribes, he mentions Zvulun. It says, Amim har yikro, the nations are going to call out to your mountain. Usafune tamune chol, and the treasure that's hidden in the sand. All right, it's sfune like tzafun, tamune tamun chol, the treasures that's hidden in the sand. And Tani Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef says safune. What is it that was the treasure? Zechilozon. This refers to the fish known as the chilozon. Right? And Tamune Zutaris, that which was hidden, refers to the fish known as the Taurus. If you look in the Rashi over here, go up a bit in the Rashi. Sefune Zechilazon, Sefune Zechilazon, Shehu Davar Choshev. It's a very valuable thing. Sofun Choshev B'Lashon Braisa. In the words of the Braisa, the word Sofun is meanings Choshev. Taurus. That's Gemara said Tamune means Taurus. What's Taurus? We ended this last week. We learned also dog shakoran tunina. Tuna. Okay. Next, chol zuzachuchas levana. And what's chol? It refers to the white glass. Rashi says zachuchas levana hayotze menachol. The white glass comes from the sand. From sand you make glass, right? Amar b'yitzis Shabbos, like it says over there in the first parak of Shabbos, v'chol shel Zvulun choshev mishar cholos. The sand of Zvulun's territory was more valuable than all other sands. V'roy l'sluchus levana, and it was fit to make white glass, very expensive glass, white glass. Okay, so now the new piece, Omar, lefonov. So Zvulun said to Ribono Shalom, Mimo Di'eni, says Rashi, Mimo Di'eni. Who's going to let me know about this? Says Rashi, Alzos, Losses Lidomim. Who's going to let everybody know about the chilazon, about the white glass, that it's so expensive and they'll give me money, right? There's a little olive over here. The Bach has a little bit of a girsa, and he says, Mimo de Eini Alzos. He adds what Rashi says over here. Amalo, back to the Gemorah. So Hashem said to him, and he quotes the pasuk again in V'zos HaBracha, Shom Yizbechu Zivchei Tzedek. Over there, they're going to slaughter zvachim of righteousness. What's Zivchei Tzedek? Says Rashi, Shom Yizbechu Zivchei Tzedek, Ka'asher Osir Gezel Ba'ola, just like it's forbidden to bring any carbon that is stolen, like a carbon ola, kach lo yigzelu mimcha klum. So they're not going to steal anything from you, says Rashi. She'im yito shova pruta below damim. If they take even 1 penny from your treasure of the fish or from the chilazon or from the sand, tis kalkel hatzaviyah, the chilazon will not give the right dye, the hachol, and the sand will not produce good glass, lo yoel klum, and it will help nothing. This is, you find this statement similarly in Shas, in a number of places. They use the expression that lo yira siman bracha la'olam. You'll never see a siman bracha for something that's illegally begotten. Right. Even though you get it, you'll never see a siman bracha. So other things, right? Other things. Says the Gemara, back to the Gemara, right? Siman zeh yehelecha. This will be a sign for you. Anybody who takes any of your treasures without paying money, he'll gain nothing from that business that he makes from using your property. Okay, so all this was an introduction to what's coming up now, which is the kasha, which the Gemara had, that Kitron was that Sipori. So the Gemara says, the if you're going to enter your mind to say Kitron Zut Sipori, which the Gemara said before, if you'll take a look 5 lines down in the wide lines, Kitron Zut Sipori, and the Lama over there, it says Niklash Matveya Shatovari Yosa. So he says, if you're going to say Kitron is Sipori, Amai Misraim Almidosa, why would Zvulun be upset? If Sipori, V'Havya Sipori Milsa da Adipa Tuva, because Sipori was a very wonderful place to live. It was at the Rosh Hahar. It had so many other great things. Take a look at the, oh, no, that's not here. That comes later. Okay. So now, so you'll say, no. Zvulun, Hashem is giving Zvulun. Listen to this. You have to pay attention here because it's crucial what's coming up. Hashem tells Zvulun, you have nothing to complain about. You're nothing to complain about because you're getting a great piece of land. The Gemara says, wait a minute. Maybe you'll say that Zvulun, his property, even though it has sand and it has glare possibility, and it has the fish, and it has the chilazon, the chitema, the lesbos zavas cholav devash. Yeah, but it doesn't have what the land of Israel is praised for. Eretz Israel is called an Eretz Zavas Chalav Devash. How do you translate Eretz Zavas Chalav Devash? A land that's flowing with milk and honey. Okay, wait a minute. We'll have to discuss this in a minute. Okay. So now, if you're going to tell me that maybe the land of Zvulun, even though it has a lot of good things, it doesn't have Zavas Chalav Devash, which we will explain what that is in a minute. The Amar Reish Lakish said, I saw the running Zavas Cholav Devash in Tzipori. Now that was the land that was given to Zavulun, right? I saw the Zavas Cholav Devash in Tzipori. V'havya. Now I need some mathematicians over here. V'havya Shisha Asa Mil al Shisha Asa Mil. It was a total of 16 mil by 16 mil. He's trying to say it's very long. Wait a minute. So 16 mil by 16 mil. Right. Now, a mil is how many amas? 2,000 amas. Okay? A mil is 2,000 amas, right? Total of 4,000 feet. Okay, good. So the Devash of Tzipori is 16 mil by 16 mil, right? Okay, watch this. V'chi tema You'll say, okay, yeah, Zvulun got Tzipori, which had 16 mil by 16 mil. Okay, you'll say that, but it's not as much as his brothers have. Maybe his brothers have much more, and that's why he's complaining, right? You know what it is when you have 5 kids and you give each kid the same amount, right? No complaints. You give one kid a little bit more than the other. Yeah, you understand? Yeah, you can't do that.
Right.
And the Gemorah says that was the problem with giving Yosef stay slow milas. You gave him a little bit silk extra, and all of a sudden, look what happened. With the family, it got all destroyed, and so on. You're not supposed to play favorites at all, right? And in fact, I heard a word from Sholem Rosner. He says a very interesting thing. He says like this. He says when it comes to the getting out of the army, right? So there are 3 reasons you can get out of the army, right? But what are one of the reasons? You plant a vineyard, yeah. If you planted a vineyard, you never tasted any of the grapes, right? And you never taste the grapes. Yelech v'yoshav leveso. He's allowed to go. There are 3 things. The Pasuk in Pasha Shoftim. It says 3 things. If you married a woman, you didn't live with her. If you built a house, you didn't move in. If you planted a vineyard and you didn't taste the wine. In any one of these things, Yelech v'yoshav leveso. Let him go home to his house. Shema ache yachnecheno, Shema yikos, yikachosa, and so on and so forth. So Rashi asks over there, why do you have to say what the reason is? Shema yikachos. Somebody else will drink the wine. What do you care if somebody else drink the wine? It's okay. That's what you don't have to add that. Say if you did plant it and you didn't taste the wine, let him go home. Does the Torah have to tell you the reason why? Because someone else will get it? And no, because what's going to happen? Shema yomas b'malchama. Maybe he'll die in the war, and someone else will drink the wine. He's dead already. Well, you know what? What's going on? So Rashi in the Chumash over there says, "Mipnei admas nefesh." This is going to cause upset. What's the upset? What's the upset over here? He's dead. Yeah, I know. But the upset is, I'm dead. It's true, and I can't have it. I planted it, and he's going to drink it. You understand? Many times, if you don't have the same thing anybody else doesn't have, it doesn't bother you. But if it's mine and the other guy's going to get it, I will not allow that. You understand? So that's admas nefesh. So that's what's going on over here also. Maybe the lo nefisha didei kedachua. Maybe his brothers didn't get as much. Maybe his brothers got more, and therefore Zvulun is upset. Let's read further, right? It can't be that way. You know why? The math here. Chazi leaves Vaschol the Vastachol out of Israel. I saw the flowing of milk and honey of all of Eretz Yisrael. The Havya can be Beit Kubi. It goes from the city of Beit Kubi ad Ekra de Tulbanki until that area, until Ekra, until the some say it means to the river and so on. A port, okay, ad Ekra de Tulbanki. How much is that? Esrim v'tartin parsi urka, which means it was 22 parses in length. Upusya, and the width was shisa parsi, was 16 prosos. Okay, all right. So what's 22 by 16? 132.
Oh, by 16 or 6? 16?
By 6. 132. Right? There's 132. And how much? And how much was? And how many tribes are there? 12. If each one took 1/12 of 132, what would everybody end up with? 11. 11. We end up with 11, right? But they had 16. Oh, so because he says that it was Shisha Asa al Shisha Asa. It was 16 by 16 parses. So that means they had, and you'll add it up, you'll see it's really 1/8. Instead of 1/12, they had 1/8, which is much more than 1/12. Yeah. So Zulun can't complain. You can't complain if you got 1/8 and say maybe the other guys got more than me. You can't say that because you had 1/8 and they had 1/12. So you see, you had much more than anybody else. So how could you possibly complain? It's the Gemara. Afilu hachi. Nevertheless, sados ukramim adifalei. Nevertheless, to have fields and vineyards for Zvulun would be much better in that sense. And Dikanami, you can derive this and prove it from the pasuk. The Ksiv, it says, "Naftali al merome soda." Naftali, he was sitting al merome soda on the high places of the field. So Naftali was the brother of Zvulun, right? And he was sitting al merome soda, and Zvulun was the chov yamim. So that's why he was jealous. Shema mina, shema mina. Okay. I just mentioned in passing, I once before mentioned it, that Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Belin, the Tziv, his commentary on the Gemorah was merome soda. It's coming from this words. Okay, let's look at the Rashi. Here comes a fascinating Rashi. Okay, here we go. Zavas cholav v'devash, right? How do we translate zavas cholav v'devash?
Landed milk and honey.
Landed milk and honey, right? What's the milk from? Where's the milk? From cows? No. Not from goats, right? From goats, right? And the honey?
Bees, not bees.
Dates, but normally people think of honey from bees also.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with what we normally say. Okay, good. Milk. Is a Jew allowed to drink milk? Give me a logic why you should not be able to drink milk.
From a meat, right?
It's not possible. Maybe it's Evim and Achai. Maybe it's Evim and Achai. In fact, the Gemorah actually asked that question, right? The Gemorah in Boro on Dav Zion asked the question: isn't it Evim and Achai? Oh, so the Gemorah says it can't. No, it's because it's to tell us that it's allowed to be eaten because the Torah says it's a land flowing with milk and honey, right? And if it was forbidden to eat, they wouldn't say flowing with milk and honey. We're going to stop there for a second and learn the Rashi, and then we're going to ask another question. Here we go. Zavas cholav v'devash. Okay. Ha'izim ochlim te'enim. Like we go back. The goats are going to eat the figs. There's not even daily over here. It's talking about figs, honey. There's also honey, right? Ha'izim ochlim te'enim. Right. The goats are going to eat the figs. V'hadavash noteif mehem. The honey is dripping from them. V'hacholav zav min ha'izim, and the milk is going to run from the goats. The nasim kiminachal becomes like a flowing brook. Okay, so according to Rashi, what's zavas cholav u'devash? What's zavas cholav u'devash? What is it? That it's a mixture. It's a mixture. That's what Rashi says, right? It says ha'izim ochlan te'enim v'hadvash noteif mehen v'hacholav zav min ha'izim. The nasim kiminachal, and the two of them together make like a river. So in other words, there's a river that's mixed of milk and honey. It's a mixture of milk and honey. Okay, so the first question is, we answered, which was, isn't this Avim and I? So we say no. The answer, and by the way, this is my question. This question was asked by the Mayor Shapiro's. Yeah, he asked this question because he's going to say like this. It's flowing from the. Well, so we say because otherwise you couldn't eat it, and the Torah wouldn't say it's such a great country because it's flowing with milk and honey unless you could eat it. Now you ask the question on that. Well, not so. The pasuk says about Eretz Israel, Eretz Asher Avoneha Barza, right? Umei Haroreha Tatzov Nechoshes. So you see that sometimes the land is considered great. And you can't eat barzel, you can't eat nechoshes. Right. So what's the pshat in barzel and nechoshes? It's going to be good money. You can sell the copper, right? Copper, very expensive, right? Iron or barzel. So how do you know you can eat the milk? You can't use that as a raya that the milk is not evim and achai. Maybe it's like the other thing, right? He says no, but over here the Gemara is being a raya that the milk and the honey mix together. And that's the praise. It's the milk and the honey is mixed together. Yeah. Now, if the milk was taka also because the Eivim and Achai, and it only meant you could have anor by selling it, but you couldn't do that if you had mixed together with honey, because it's clear that the Torah wanted to tell you that the milk is so sweet that takes on the flavor of the dvash. If the milk was Eiver Menachai, it would ruin the dvash. You couldn't eat the dvash. If the milk was Eiver Menachai, you couldn't eat the dvash either. So Ramesh Shapiro brought from this Rashi here and that Gemara in Bechoro Saraya that when it says Zavas Cholav Dvash, it's a raya to the Zavas Cholav Dvash that's mixed and therefore is perfectly permitted to be eaten, and it's not Eiver Menachai. They asked the same question, by the way, about the honey. So we spoke about the honey from bees. Is honey from bees Eiver Menachai? And the bees not kosher because the Mishnah over there in Bechoros and Dav Zayin says Hayotzi min haTorah Torah, Hayotzi min haTamei Tamei. Right? So how can you eat honey? What's the answer? It's not made from the bee. It's a pollen. Right. It's not from the bee. Right. Okay. Just carry it. Right. He's on the carry it. Right. Okay. Let's go over it. Right. Shisha Osa Mil is Dalal Patzos. All right. Wherever I was, it's where the river goes over Las Porta, like a port. Okay. All right. Maybe the mountains are Difile, Chavivile. Maybe it's better because he likes it that way. Okay. Back to the Gemara. Here we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Amar Rebbe Abohu, where the last two words on the line, about 15, 16 lines up in the wide lines. Amar Rebbe Abohu, now in the beginning of the line, Amar Rebbe Abohu. There's a pasuk in Sefanya, right? In Sefanya, one of it says, the Ekron te'akar. And Ekron is going to be uprooted. Who's Ekron? Zu Kisri Bas Edom. That refers to the city of Caesarea, Kisri. Well, it was under the rule of the family of Edom. Who's Edom? Rome. Okay. Zu Kisri Bas Edom. This is the Caesarea of Edom. Okay. And according to the Rashba, it's called Kisri because it was named after the Caesar. Caesar. That's why it's called Caesarea. It's named after the Caesar. Okay. And it's talking about the Caesarea that was of Edom. Shehi Yosheves Bein Acholos. The city is amongst the sand dunes. Vehi Yosei Tekuel Yisrael, and it was a peg in the thorns of the Jewish people. Bimei Yevonim, in the days of the Greeks. Well, not really the Greeks, the Syrian Greeks, okay? Ukeshegovra Malchus Beis Chashmonoi, Yevonim, Nikbetzu Alai, Azai Bimei Chashmonoi, right? And when the Chashmonoim overpowered the Greeks, the Nitzachim, and they were victorious, Hoyu Koren Osa Achidas Migdal Shir. They changed the name to Achidas Migdal Shir. Rashi says, Yosei Tekua L'Ra, it was a peg for against them. Achidas Migdal Shir, Kevushas Migdal Shir, the capture. We captured this place. Okay.
What was Migdal Shir?
There's a tower of a song. There is a discussion. In the Rishonim. The Ramban has a unique sheet, different than everybody else in terms of the Chashmonaim. The Ramban says, why didn't the Chashmonai dynasty last more than 100 years? It mamish dissipated. After Hanukkah, it dissipated. You never heard from them again. The whole family was wiped out. How come? So he said, so his opinion was because, go ahead, Yossi, what was the answer?
The mountains belong to them.
Why? Who to belong to? Yehuda. And the Chashmonaim were Kahanim. You're a priest. There's a separation between the priestly class and the ruling class. We don't have everybody does one thing. There's a separation here. And the Beis Yehuda was supposed to be, the Bnei Yehuda was supposed to be the kings, and they usurped it. That's according to the Ramban. Everybody else argues with him and said, no, there was no Bnei David that were worthy. They had no choice. They took it. Whatever happened over there was because of other reasons. Okay, but that's his opinion. Next in the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yossi Bachanina. My diksiv, what does it mean when it says in the pasuk in Zechariah, "Vasirosi domav mipil," I'm going to take his blood, so to speak, out of his mouth. V'shikutzav mi bein shinov, and the disgusting things from between his teeth. V'nishar gam hu leilo kenu, and he too will remain for our God. That's the pasuk, right? So Rashi says, "Hasirosi domav mipil gabei tzur," the city of Tyre, Ksiv shehu rosh le'edom, which was the head of the Roman dynasty in the Middle East, right? Next, the Hasirosi domav mipil, when it says, "I will take his blood out of his mouth," Zeb base, and we have a girsa bamya, but the Bach changes the girsa of bamya to karya. Both names are derogatory names which refer to negative body waste. Okay, put it nicely. Okay. Anyway, so it says Zeb base bamya shalahem. Rashi says Dama bipiv gapitzuk siv shirosh Edom Galia bamya Rosh Avodah Zarah Heim Edom. That was the name of the chief Avodah Zarah. So they said this Avodah Zarah is nothing more than that, right? Right? V'shikutzav mi bein shinav Zeb base Galia shalahem. That's the Beis Galia, says Rashi. Galia and Bamya, Rosh Avodah Zarah Heim Edom. They were the chief Avodah Zarahs of Edom. V'nishar gam hu le'Elokeinu, and he remained for our God. Elu batek anesios batek midrashas sheba Edom. This refers to the houses of gathering and the houses of medrash amongst the Edomites, amongst the Goyim. So what's the pshat? Wait a minute. What's the pshat over here? Wait a minute. When it says they had a base medrash, they had a base knesset. What did Edom have over there? What did Edom have? What they built in this area? Amphitheaters. Yeah. For what? For worshiping Avodah Zarah. Worshiping Avodah Zarah. All right. Okay. Says the Gemara further. V'hoya ka'aluf b'Yehuda v'ekron ka'yavusi, and it's going to be like the head of Yehuda, and like Egron was amongst the Yevusi, right? Elu, and this refers to tiroyos, the karikisayos, the theaters and the circuses, Sheba Edom, that were amongst the family of Edom, Sha'asidim Sada Yehuda Lalamed Behem Torah Berabim, that the family of Yehuda is going to be able to one day learn Talmud Torah Berabim in public. Okay, now, let's take a look at the Tosfos for Rashi first. Okay, Rashi first, then we'll go to the Tosfos. Okay, says Rashi, based, skip one, Beit Kayavusi, he Yerushalayim. Oh, you know, who built the base of Megilah? Who built it? So yeah, okay. But David bought the land. Who did he buy the land from? Aravna Yevusi. Okay, Aravna Yevusi. Right, because the land, there was a guy. It was Aravna. That was Aravna. He was a guy. He was a Jebusite. One of the Shiva Amamin, Yevusi. He was a Yevusi. He owned that land. And David HaMelech recognized that that's the land of the base Hamikdash. He bought it from him. He bought it from Aravna HaYevusi.
Did he know that? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Did the know that it was the land? Or was just
David wanted it. He was willing to give it to him. Okay. He bought it. He bought it from him. Okay. Aravna HaYevusi. Okay. By the way, if you go close to the Harabayas, you can't go on the Harabayas. But if you go down the southern wall, not the western wall, the southern wall, which is corner, you turn the corner, you go down, and you go to the back of the Kotel, on the eastern side, you're going to come to an area where it says there is a Jebusite shaft. Jebusite is Yevusi. Yeah. And there are archaeologists that have gone down into that shaft of course, to do investigations, but that's the underpinnings of the Har Abayis. Anyway, so it says here by Yevusi Yerushalayim, v'hoya Edom la'aluf Yehuda. Edom became the head in the area known as Yehuda. Edom is going to be where Yehuda is going to be. The Ekron Tiyah based Talmud Yerushalayim, and Ekron is going to be a house of learning in Yerushalayim. Says Tosfos, Tara Tiyos v'Kakisoyos. Okay. Yesh Mefarshim. Now, what did the Gemara say? The Gemara said that ultimately the theaters and the circuses are going to become places where they're going to learn Torah, right? Says Tosfos, Yesh Mefarshim, Batei Avodas Kolchavim. Some say that these theaters and circuses were actually houses of worship of Avodah Zarah. Umechane osam tartik yaos loshon tartik ochos or whatever loshon cherpa tartiros is a loshon of cherpa, shame. Bekarki soyos rotzalomar beisakise beloshon arev. In Arabic, karki soyos is a beisakise. So we called it the tinuf, the disgusting places where they worship Avodah Zarah, right? Okay, and what are you saying? That they're going to make those places into a base where the Jewish people are going to go and learn Torah, right?
Not allowed.
The kosher, Tosfos says, the kosher lomar, she'osan makomos mitunafos, yochol lilmod sham Torah. It's impossible to say that the place was a base of Avodah Zarah, and now you're going to go learn Torah there. Elavadai lish mama yehe. Ultimately, they're all going to be totally destroyed, right? Bimheida, biyamenu, quickly in our day. Verotza lomar, and what the Gemara meant to say there was, Botim shemis asrim sham levad shel. Let's go home. It was only used as a place of gathering of people who worshipped idols, but it wasn't used as a church, so to speak. It wasn't used as a church. Okay, so the question then arises from all this Gemara, right? Are you allowed to take a church and make it into a shul?
Oh, you have to dig down a certain amount. You have to dig down a certain amount.
It's been done.
You have to dig down a certain amount.
Let's take a look at Simon Kufman Dalit. That's why I brought the Mr. Brewer here. Take a look at
Where
Simon.
is my thing?
Let's take a look at Simon Kufman Dalit. Yeah. Okay. And it says here in Sif Yud Aleph, page 85. Kufman Dalit, page 85. It says here, Neiros shel Shava, wax candles, shenisonam kusi lavodas salilim, that the Goyim make for idols. They lit them for idols. The kibon shamoshon, and the guys who served it put out the candles, unisonam omechorim Yisrael, and then sold the candles to the Jews. Now you have to understand, in those days, candles were light. They had no other light. That's what I'll let you.
Right.
If you don't have candles, you have no light. That's it. So candles were a very valuable commodity. And here the Goyim had all these candles left over, right? And they sold to the Jews. Also, the Hadlikim Mesechta says the Mechaber, you can't light those candles in a shul. Says the Ramah, Hagor, Af al pi shemutam lahedjit, even though you could do it for your own personal will, mumar. Oh, now another case. Mumar over kochavim shenosan. Turn the page. Shava onel beis hakneses. If a guy gave candles or wax for the shul, also lahadliko, you're not allowed to light it in shul. All right, and then it tells you to look in your day. But if you look at the Mr. Brewer on the bottom, Sifkot Mem Vav. Yeah. Oh no, not member. Is it member? Memhei. Sifkot Memhei on page 85. Vesak Neses. Who adin lechol hadlokas shel mitzvah? Kagon hadlokas haner the Shabbos or the Chanukah.
Mr. Brewer.
Mr. Brewer Sifkot Memhei or for Chanukah. Oh, lilmod lifneim, or to learn with them the osir. Who adin lechol milei the mitzvah ain't osir midavar shenasel hakam Ayin Siman Yud Aleph Siches Siman Tukei Rek. Ule Inyan Lasan we base Tifla shall Avodas Chachamim Beis HaKnesses. Oh, the Mishnah Berurah brings up. Can you take a church and make it into a shul? He brings up the kasha right here, right? Ule Inyan Lasan we base Tifla shall Akam Beis HaKnesses. Watch what he quotes. Kosav Mogen Avram b'Shem Horam D'Elyon Mizrachi Lahokel. He permits it. Vatam, the reason, Kilo Nevar Abayas Atzmo Me'olam. He didn't worship the building. He was worshiping what he thought was in the building. But he wasn't bowing to the walls of the building. Wasn't bowing to the chandeliers. Yeah. Okay. So the Mishnah, what? So the Mishnah Berurah quotes, very interesting, quotes the Ram, which says it's lakula. You can do it, right? Then he quotes Vidasa El Yerabba no telahachmir lasas meses kavua ayin sham, but he didn't like it. Ukemeduma says the Mishnah Berurah. This is what my wife's brought up, right? Sheha olam no'ogin lahakel. It seems to me the olam in the world at large is makel that they take many shuls and turn them into many churches. Unfortunately, on Eastern Parkway, they took a lot of shuls. Yeah, you go down Eastern Parkway, a lot of shuls.
The shuls sold it to them?
No, the shuls didn't sell it to them.
Afterwards.
They were sold to somebody in between. Oh, but that's only if they didn't have mamish idols in there. Aval elu shema amidim sham elileim afshot tzim misham mocha abalabayas liYisrael de'oz muta habayis lehedyot mitam shekvan is battle ayudezeh mishum sham shei elu kedis be your day and so on and so on. I'll call part of the basic necessary. Nevertheless, the Eliyahu Rabbah did not like it. He says also, but even though Eliyahu Rabbah didn't like it at all, but nevertheless, the Ram did permit it. The Ram did permit it. All right. Yeah, just a few more minutes. Okay.
You can go as long as you have to.
I had a, once we got to this topic, we got to share this with you.
Right.
Give these out.
We'll finish with that.
Give these out. Shadows and shoes. Moshe, give these out. Yeah, give these out. Yeah. Everybody get one of these. Okay.
So do you have to dig a certain amount when you
Wait.
Sorry.
First of all, we should think a little bit. We should think when it says tartiyos or tartisos, circuses and theaters turn into batei medrash. All you got to do is think about, the Siyam Hashas in MetLife Stadium. Yeah. So it's not Chas Shalom, a base of Avodah Zarah, but it's certainly a circus, so to speak, place. And they turned it into a big, beautiful base medrash. Okay, so here, Moshe and Simon Memtes in the first Chayar Chaim, someone wrote a Megilah about this particular point, right? And the only reason I think I want to read this is because I want to show you the power of the tshuva and the way Rav Moshe writes. His tshuva is such a powerful way, right? Here it says, he quotes, B'dover beis tifla, that means church, right? Shel akum, shenechrav, emuta l'knosa l'tekno l'beis hakneses. Can you set it up for sure? He says from the Yedidi Harav Nichba Shimon Hanover. I don't know who he was, but all right. Yeah, okay, it's a while back. B'dover beis tifla shel notzrim. A church of notzrim. Notzrim is Christians.
Right.
Katulim. Shenechrav al Yidei Sleifer Zeh Yosef V'Chofav Shonim more than 26 years. V'Arakach Tiknu also Levei Sefer V'Lefnei Gimel Shonim, and then 3 years later, Nechrav Odapah was again knocked down. V'Nishu Rakakoslim Shehem Milevonim, they're made out of brick. V'Tzara Kam L'Taken HaKoslim, you had to fix the walls. She'ein Re'uyin Kamo She'ein, it's not fit to anything where it is. V'Chein Binyan She'Yasomach Nechrav, the next door building also was destroyed. There's nothing remains from the Avodah Zarah building. One was already made for something else. Maybe we're allowed to use it. Okay. Now, we read in the Mishnah Berurah that the Ram permits it, right?
Yeah.
V'hinei Be'etzem Moshanogu Bepo America. The minig here in America, Lasos Mebeis Tifla Shalahem Lebeis Akneses, to make a church into a shul, Kashera Isi Baharbe Botignesias. I've seen that with many shuls, that Moshe says. Oh, they're relying on the Ram that we just read in the Mishnah Berurah, the Simon Kufna Dalit Sivkot Yuzak. We just read it, okay? That's what we just read. Shekosav, that writes what he writes. And that's exactly the words of the Mishnah Berurah. Everybody seems to be makel on this. Look over there. Now watch this. Listen to this next line. Ein dati nochem mizeh. I'm not happy about this at all. You hear what a power?
Yeah.
He said the Magen Avraham said this, and the Ram said this. I don't agree with them. Now, that's a powerhouse.
Yes.
You understand? The Pashat Shemos Zel Mitzvah. It's obvious this is disgusting for a mitzvah. In fact, he quotes the Chofetz Chaim in the Bir Halacha that says he was unhappy about it. If there were idols in it, for sure it's asa. He says, I can't come and forbid the shuls that were already made like that. Because they asked Talmidei Chachamim, he brings a raya from Lulav, Sheyotza b'di'evet achar bitul, okay? Alma dekam moes lemitzvah hurak din lechatchila. V'im kain efsher she'acharei she'otziu kvar etzah gedola. Since they spent all this money, okay, you can do it, but I'm not happy about it. Okay. Aval kopanim mi pi lo seitze heter lozer. I am not giving this.
Wow.
It's powerful. The emotion is very, very powerful. I'm not giving it. Okay. However, the uvda zu shakvar nechera. Our case, since the walls were destroyed, they need a lot of fixing. Under these circumstances, I see a reason to make it mutter. Okay, he goes into a lot more. We don't have time, but I will say the following: when the yeshiva Yerushalayim decided to move to Staten Island, they found a convent that had a large piece of land, a convent.
Oh, wow.
That had a large piece of land with a whole campus of buildings, dormitories and everything that was up for sale. Some Jew bought it and he was willing to give it to the yeshiva. So now the question is, would Reb Moshe allow it? What? No, it was a convent with a big main convent with a nuns
taught how to be a nun
with a big main building and so on. So and this very wealthy, they bought it and so on and so forth. But Moshe made a stipulation that not one wall of the building in which they used it for the tiflis should remain.
Really?
Not one.
The walls. So we just
no
the walls.
The whole thing. Demolish that particular section, and he wouldn't even go see it until they did that. Interesting. But now the yeshiva Staten Island is on that spot.
Yeah. But Rabbi, look on 17th Avenue and 46th Street. There's a big. How many times they came over and they wanted to buy that thing and make it into a shul.
17? Oh, the one
17 boys.
Who went to them?
I don't know exactly, but
the school I know about, the church they went
yes.
That's all. She was looking at it. Nobody
But don't you want
to sell it?
And they refused to sell it.
They're
Right. Not selling it to Jews.
No. And then on
So this is a very fascinating topic, which which comes up over here. There's more on this. We don't have really time, There is one more question. I'll just mention it. Okay, I want to stop in this one. There is one more thing. There is a shaila that is raised by in the Igros Moshe. If you're allowed to, for an Orthodox shul, to let's say in town there's a conservative temple, and there's a group of people that are making an Orthodox minyan, and they want to improve themselves and do the right thing, and they want to. The only space that's available to them is to rent in the conservative temple building. They asked Rav Moshe if they are allowed to go into that place and use it as an Orthodox shul. He said, if you have a separate entrance, so that there's no Maris Ayin, that you're going into the main thing, then you could do it. Otherwise, not.
So the question,
Yeah, it's your shul. But otherwise not. It's very
what do you call it? They rented out the reform group, a section of the church, but then the war fortune.
reform.
I did a form.
Ain't claim to cut.
Rabbi,
A little late to start talking about the rules of the Torah there.
what do they, Rabbi, what do they do by the, the women of the wall, if they're there?
What are they
Like,
doing? The women of the
council,
wall.
What are you supposed to do? Like, if you're there, the women of the wall are there, like, obviously you don't go near them.
What are you supposed to do?
I'm saying, how do you dive about a kosel? You have to,
They're not near your
They're in the
neighborhood.
back.
no, in the kosel, I'm saying, if you go
They're
there.
not anywhere near the Torah place. They're in the
What
back.
do you mean?
They're in the
I
back.
thought they gave a section over there.
Yeah, so it's not, so stay
Oh, so
away.
it's all the way in the back?
Stay away.
Oh,
Stay away from these crazy people.
Sure.
Stay away.
Oh, they're all the way in the back.
Stay away.
Oh, I see. All right.
Mishigayim. No kiyum. Ratzah Kodesh Baruch Hu L'Zako says. V'viko chibel em Torah mitzvah shneimar. Adonai chavei saman sikol yagdil Torah v'yadir.